Honestly, I've always felt that my wife, Elena, was a woman who kept herself hidden in plain sight. Her beauty wasn't the kind that shouted for attention on a street corner. She was a professional, classy, sharp, always buttoned up for the office. But I was the only one who knew what was beneath those tailored suits: the pale, glowing skin, and the curves that felt a little too wild for a corporate desk. I remember it was our 5th summer together. One of those Saturdays in July where the heat felt thick enough to shatter glass. Elena was in the bedroom getting ready for a dinner party. I walked in to grab my car keys, and for a second, I forgot how to breathe. She was standing in front of the full-length mirror, wearing nothing but a piece of sheer black lace. The afternoon sun was slicing through the slats of the Venetian blinds, hitting her back in golden stripes. The light looked alive, tracing the hollow of her spine down to the small of her back before disappearing. She didn't turn around, but she caught my eyes in the reflection. There was no shyness there, no ups. You caught me blush. Instead, there was a challenge. "Do you like it?" she asked. Her voice was barely a whisper, light as a feather but heavy with intent. I couldn't find my voice. My throat felt like it was full of dry sand. I walked over and placed my palm against her hip. The warmth of her skin, that velvet texture, traveled up my fingers and straight to my chest. I felt her shiver, not out of fear, but a sort of high-voltage anticipation. When we finally left the house, she had chosen a dress with a neckline that sat dangerously low. The kind of neckline where even a slight lean forward would reveal everything to the world. Walking through the mall, I felt the air around us shift. The way men looked at her changed. It wasn't just admiration anymore. It was predatory, raw. I walked half a step behind her, watching men pretend to look at store windows while their eyes trailed the shadows of her dress and the length of her legs. In the past, I would have been furious. I would have started a fight, asked her if she'd lost her mind. But that day, a dark, dusty corner of my mind suddenly caught fire. I reached out, grabbed her hand, my palm was slick with sweat, and leaned into her ear. "They're staring at you," I hissed. "They've been staring for blocks." Elena didn't shrink. She arched her back slightly, a tiny, knowing smirk tugging at the corner of her lips. "And you?" she whispered. "Is it turning you on?" In that moment, I heard the snap of my own common sense. The night we truly crossed the line was during a rainstorm. We were at a rooftop lounge, the kind with semi-private booths. The rain was coming down in sheets, creating a wall of mist that cut us off from the rest of the world. It was just us, sitting in the dim glow of a flickering candle, feeling completely isolated. Elena was a little tipsy, her cheeks flushed, her eyes incredibly bright. Suddenly, she reached under the table and rested her hand on my knee. The heat from her touch felt like it was burning through my jeans. "Do you remember that group?" she said quietly. I knew the one. An underground community that hid behind the label of artistic photography, but was really about the bold, the rebellious, and the voyeuristic. She pulled out her phone, the screen light reflecting off her face. "Just now, I posted a photo. No face. Just a shot of me here on this terrace." My brain went numb. I instinctively looked around. A bartender was polishing glasses in the distance. A couple was whispering in the shadows near the bar. The feeling of right under their noses, the sheer thrill of the forbidden, sent my heart into an overdrive I'd never felt before. "They're waiting for the next one," she said, looking at me with a look of reckless surrender. She pulled the hem of her skirt up. Just an inch. But that flash of pale skin in the darkness was enough to make the world tilt. I heard the sound of my own pulse. I didn't reach for her phone to turn it off. Instead, I took the phone from her hand and pointed it at her. The air felt like it had frozen. The wind blew a fine mist of rain onto the terrace, but between the two of us, it felt like a furnace. My hand shook as I pressed the shutter. The tiny sound was swallowed by the rain. When we got home that night, Elena was like a different person. Before the door was even fully shut, she slammed the deadbolt, turned around, and pinned me against the wall. The lights were off. We stayed in the dark, frantically rediscovering each other. I could feel the beads of sweat on her skin from the sheer adrenaline. The way every breath she took sounded like a desperate release. She bit my shoulder, her voice muffled and trembling. "Don't stop. Don't make them wait too long." After that night, we became silent accomplices. We started taking risks in the back rows of movie theaters, in the shadows of public parks late at night, anywhere where the fear of being caught hung over us like a drug. Elena seemed to fall in love with the illusion of being watched. She became more expressive in front of the lens, more captivating. Her beauty wasn't proper anymore. It was poisonous. It was a wild thing about to explode. But every game has a price. I don't know exactly when it started, but I noticed Elena was changing. She was always on her phone during dinner, in the shower, even while I was holding her. The emptiness in her eyes when she looked away from the screen started to scare me. "Do you feel like reality isn't enough for you anymore?" I asked her once. She turned to me with a coldness I didn't recognize. "Reality?" She laughed softly. "Reality is these beige walls and endless chores. Only out there, in those eyes, do I feel like I'm actually alive." I realized then that I had personally torn a hole in her soul, and that hole was slowly swallowing us both. Our relationship started to fracture. Not with shouting matches, but with something worse: indifference. In front of the camera, we were still intense, still capable of poses that would make anyone's blood boil. But when the camera went off, we were just two strangers sharing a roof. One night, we were in a high-rise hotel. The floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the city lights. Elena stood at the glass, exposing herself to the neon glow of the skyline. "Look at those windows," she said, pointing at the building across the street. "Behind every one of them, there could be a pair of eyes on us right now." She looked back at me, her eyes filled with tears, but also a twisted kind of euphoria. "Does this feel better than love?" I didn't answer. I walked over and held her from behind. My fingers touched her cold skin. In that moment, I thought back to when we first met. Back then, she would blush if I just held her hand too long. Now, she needed the gaze of an entire city just to feel something. The fracture finally shattered. A photo we'd taken near the coast was somehow traced back to us. Someone recognized a landmark, or a piece of jewelry, and it started circulating in a local circle. The whispers started like a plague. No faces were shown, but to anyone who knew us, the silhouette, the clothes, the location, it was an indictment. I came home that day to find Elena sitting on the sofa. Her phone was on the floor, the screen cracked. She wasn't crying. She just looked at me, her eyes quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your skin crawl. "It's over, isn't it?" she asked. I didn't answer. I walked over, knelt down, and took her hand. Those hands, which had been so bold and expressive in front of the lens, were now as cold as ice. I turned off the living room light. The world went black. "It's okay," I whispered, pressing my forehead against hers. "We'll stay here, just us. We don't need anyone else." Elena leaned into my shoulder, her body shaking with tiny, silent sobs. It was the collapse of a woman who had been holding it together too long. But even then, she gripped my hand tight, her nails digging into my palm. The pain was the only thing that made us feel real in that dead silence. The sun still rises the next morning. The house is still clean, looking as if nothing happened. But we both know. The whole, pure version of Elena, and the stable, quiet version of our family, shattered the moment that photo went live. We still live together. Still eat dinner together, and say good morning. But when we look at each other now, the look in our eyes isn't simple love. It's the look of two people standing in the middle of a wreck, recognizing each other's wounds. It's a feeling I can't quite describe. It's not romance anymore, and it's not just crossing the line. It's the realization that you knew exactly where the edge was. And you knew that we'd already jumped. This is our story. There isn't much romance in it, just countless nights spent hovering over that line. If you're ever out late at night, and you pass a window that's tightly shut, and you see a flicker of light that doesn't seem quite right, please, don't knock. Because inside, there might be the people just trying to remember who they used to be.